Ye we be upon the sea. It is me, Digi B, and Jesse, and Tommy Oliver.
Yippee.
Bang bang! This is my new thing.
Alright.
Woo!
You gotta keep doing that bit through the whole video now.
Yeah, bang bang!
I don't have a bit.
Today, on the sea, all kinds of things are happening. The sea is wavy. Wavy. Will you surf the wave? Or will you lay back and let it take you?
What are we filming right now?
That is a good
We're
question.
filming the sea.
We didn't discuss it.
No,
we didn't decide what this was going to be.
Neither did I. What do you want it to be?
A stream of consciousness as we float out.
Let's talk about news
Okay.
that we see in the news that is cool.
News.
Cool news?
All that I've seen in the news is the coronavirus.
Yeah. It's not very cool.
No, let's not talk about that because everyone in the world is talking about that and it's
Yeah.
boring.
Exactly. They don't need another one.
Let me tell you about that fucking coronavirus. Is this fucking coronavirus?
Wait, what?
Huh?
You're not talking about that. Now you're talking about it.
Don't do it.
Am I doing a bit?
I don't know what you're doing.
Someone tell me if I'm doing a bit or not.
Don't give in.
What is going on?
I don't know. Okay, we tried. Hey, you know what? Here's a topic,
Okay, good.
a music topic. Because I was listening to By the Way on the drive here. Did you guys know John
By the
Frusciante
way,
is coming back to the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you
Thank
didn't hear
God.
that? Yeah.
Maybe they'll make a good album.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly.
What prompted this?
By the
Boredom?
way I tried to say
I mean,
Money?
Well, he left the band originally, I think, because he just hated being famous and like performing
Yeah.
and shit.
I
And
think
so he
that's-
just kind of like became a recluse and like put out solo albums for a while.
Yeah.
And
And a lot of people are, there's a certain subset of hipster who are much more into John Frusciante as a solo artist.
oh, he's great. I put him on all the time when I'm in my bed, in the dark, hiding.
There's this one song by him called Untitled Number 10, I think, that my friend Brandon would play on the guitar, but it's like a 5-second song basically.
Oh, yeah.
But it goes like boom boom dee doo dee boom boom dee doo boom dee boom dee dee doo dee boom, and that's it. And it's the nicest little fucking riff
Hell yeah.
ever.
Yeah, I discovered his album, The Empyrean, because I was just, because sometimes I just want to listen to music, and I just want to hide in the dark. So I'm just like, I don't know. I had to clarify that. I'm not that's not the same as every human being who ever fucking lived. Sometimes I like listening to music.
Yeah.
And then I was just letting the YouTube fucking thing, figure out my brain for me and tell me what to listen to next. And it put on that album, and I was just like, oh, the first song is this really dreamy, mellow fucking shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it auto plays, and I fall asleep, and I wake up to something completely different. Then one night I had a transcendental experience because I woke up in the middle of the night to this angelic choir. I thought I was ascending to the heavens. It's my body, I was becoming one with the universe. It was the song Aunt Susie by Buckethead, which I had never heard in my life. I thought Buckethead was a meme.
He's like a crazy shredder guitarist, but he's a meme in the sense that he puts out 4 albums a year and has forever or something like that.
Everybody listen to the fucking song Aunt Susie by Buckethead. It's just a really nice. It goes on. It's a 10-minute song, and it's kind of repetitive, but it's so nice and smooth. It just speaks right to your butt.
I could see why he would come up in a John Frusciante.
Yeah.
Because they're both those kind of just guy who puts out tons of fucking albums.
Yeah.
Like Omar Rodriguez Lopez from the Mars Volta, who's my guy. He's my model for productivity. Because there was this amazing thing I read one time about him where it said that he would just sometimes make albums just for his friends, just stuff that does not get released. He just makes it and puts it on a cassette and gives it to somebody for some reason. And hearing about that when I was 18 or 19, just the thought that not all of my art had to be commodified, that some of it could just be for me or just for certain people, was very heartening.
Yeah, and I think about that a lot lately as a backdoor kind of escape plan. On my computer somewhere there's a document that I've been kind of putting together like over the last year that is just like aliases and names that I've come up with and like new ways to present myself and like new careers, like backup careers.
Yeah. I feel like you are somebody who could legitimately like make a lifestyle out of like performing at people's houses in exchange for room and board.
Yeah.
And just like traveling around and doing that, and like people like would do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm entertaining enough on a nightly basis that I could do something like that.
I mean, the only thing stopping me from living like that is that I have a woman who wants me to live with her. If not for her, I would literally not be like even American. I would just be all over the world all the time.
But you have to find the real America before you can leave it.
Yeah.
Who says
Or
the
did you
real, who
already
says the
find
real
it?
America's in America?
Well,
It's
okay,
true.
it is kind of like metaphorical. I feel. I mean, because I fucking came up with it. I can make the rules.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Go for it. It's all up to you.
Yeah, it's like a state of mind. And then like where I got it is I didn't actually come up with it. I lied. Where I got it originally, where I stole it from, was the 1970s or 80s comic Green Arrow and Green Lantern by DC, obviously. It's this comic where like it was like really like influential in terms of like woke comics, and like it was like woke when it was still cool to be woke, I guess, or whatever the fuck, because it was in the 70s, you know.
When there was actually something to really
people actually had something to say. There was like All in the Family and shit. Anyways, it was like it was this comic where like Green Lantern is going around like solving crimes or something, and he stops a robbery or something, but there's like a racial element to it, and it's like a little bit uncomfortable, and so. You know, because he's Green Lantern. He's like flying around like a poor neighborhood, like arresting criminals. Like, what's wrong with you, man? So like,
which Green Lantern is this?
Hal Jordan,
Okay.
the white one. Yeah. So that's the issue there. So like this, so this old black dude comes out and starts like giving him the riot act. Like, hey, Mr. White Spaceman, you come in here into our neighborhood, and you know, I see you out there, and out. This is an actual line from the comic. This is a great line. I see you out there doing stuff for the purple skins and the green skins, but you don't care about the black skins. And then it's like Hal Jordan with like a tear, like, my God, his hand has touched me. And so,
fantastic.
yeah. And so then he also, like, Green Arrow gets involved somehow. And Green Arrow is like the lib cuck superhero. He's like, he was like the 1970s Bernie bro. So he's like all about like, you know, I agree with the poor people. You suck, Green Lantern. And Green Lantern's like, hey man, I thought we were friends. We're on the Justice League, man. Like, yeah, well, I hate you now. So they team up or something, and they solve some crime. I read this like 25 years ago, so I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Anyways, eventually it ends up they've purchased like a van. Like a used like hippie van,
dude,
and they've got like an alien sidekick. I think he's from Oa maybe or something. But it's just Green Lantern and Green Arrow in a van, and so like this experience like touches Hal Jordan and Green Lantern, and they realize that as superheroes they're like something is missing. Like they're neglecting like some vital core of America, right? Like the common people are being forgotten, and I think like Green Arrow gives a speech and he's like, this is a great nation, but it's sick. It has a sickness. A good man was killed in Dallas. A good man was killed in, you know, wherever the fuck Martin Luther King was. You know, he's referencing all these fucking stuff. And it's like...
By the FBI.
Yeah, so they're like having like a real bro moment over this, and they're like, you know, crying about America. And they just, you know, they say they bump hooves and they go, we're gonna find the real America. And so the whole comic, it's about Green Lantern and Green Arrow traveling the country in a van, trying to find the real America by like getting involved with little like social issues, and like it's like nowadays if it came out, people would like lose their minds, like, oh, this is a woke comic, this is SJW trash. But like it was in the 70s, so it was cool and it's awesome. That's where I started saying real America from. And then it became my thing because I kept harping on it.
So what do you consider to be the real America? Have you found it yet, or are you still searching?
I mean, I don't know. I ultimate, like right now, the real America to me would just be like an actual house of my own, you know, with my girlfriend in it or around it, you know, or in a house adjacent to it or wherever the fuck, where I can do whatever the fuck I want.
So where your head lies is where the real America is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Fair enough.
I mean, just listening to it, like my idea of like what the real America would be like a stable community, right?
Right.
Like you want a place that's yours with people around you that you care about, and you can feel like you're contributing to a society that is like functional and proper and good, and you feel like you have a place in a greater whole.
I just want to like go off the grid,
bad.
like buy a big ranch, go off the grid, and like start like a hippie commune, like outside the fucking
All
purview
you
of
need
the
is a
government.
modest house in a modest neighborhood. In a modest town where
I would be a
people
cult leader
dwell.
if I could. I would like recruit people and be like, hey, I'm starting a community where everyone is not allowed to be stupid. And if you don't follow the law, you're dead. You're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Well, that's what in the Road to... Did you listen to the Road to Radcon 4
Yeah, I listened to some
novel?
of it.
There's a part in which Munchie takes over the world, and he institutes the only law that exists is fist your ass twice daily and think about how you're going to die. And I thought, and it causes world peace. That's like that is the only.
I
law
guess
that's
that would be a
needed.
small price to pay for world
Yeah.
peace.
Fist your ass twice.
Could learn to
daily,
like it, probably.
Think about how you're going to die. There's now a high-powered camera behind us.
There's also a camera there where you can.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just-
just camera here the whole time.
We're using my vlog camera, and there are now two high-powered cameras shooting. We're shooting
There's like camera
our
equipment
video.
here.
Are they already done?
10 years worth of my income just in this room in camera.
What kind of camera is this? Because this
This
looks good.
This
The
camera.
Sony RX 100.
This is a $1,000 camera.
Never mind. Looks
You can
like
get something better for $1,000 easily.
Well, yeah, this is an older model. This
Well,
one, I mean,
that
this
is
could
that
be. This
it-
might only be
it
like
shit battery,
$600
that's
now,
all.
for all I know. Well, the worst thing, it's not that the battery is. The battery lasts like an hour and a half, but it's just that it cuts every 30 minutes, so you have to restart it.
Any camera that's not a film camera does that because they have to, like, in order to designate it not a camcorder, it has to cut like that.
Yeah.
It's like a
Like,
tax thing,
yeah.
right?
It's import
Import
logic
shit,
for-
whatever.
That is not the real America. Bullshit
No.
like that.
We could turn this. We could put this cast that's on the sea out on the sea. Now that they're not filming out there.
It was pretty loud out there. There was like helicopters and planes flying.
You're right.
I don't know how they even managed to get anything done.
They had lapel mics.
That's true.
Well,
That's the whole show.
what do we talk about now?
I don't know.
I was thinking about various things while I was driving around the city. You know, going back and forth from the rad house, thinking my deep thoughts, forgetting them, wishing that I was having those thoughts while we were recording something so I could talk about them, hoping that I will be able to grasp them back.
Do you remember you called me as soon as you left last night?
Yes, that was because I didn't want that one to get away. Like, I'd had so many of these random ideas and thoughts, and so I finally just was like, Tom, put a camera on you and let's talk about this on the phone before I forget. But we're not going to hash that out again.
Dude, I have so
That's
many
for
of
the
those
back
little
end.
thoughts constantly, those little ideas, and like sometimes big ideas, and sometimes ideas that I know are good. That I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I had this idea. If I committed to this idea,
Yes.
everything would be better. It would be
Literally,
all solved.
People don't understand that the reason I change gears so often and drop projects is that, like, that is what I'm going through, is like this constant feeling of like, okay, this thing I'm doing is not quite working, but like, oh shit, there's another idea, let's try this one. And then if that one doesn't work, then it's immediately like,
and like if I could
fuck that one, let's try the next
if I
one.
could commit to one really good idea for like long enough to make it a reality.
Yeah.
But the problem is I have 20 ideas that are that good
Exactly.
at
And
all
then,
times.
like, the Whirling Dervish podcast.
Now, I'm not like sucking my own dick, because I probably also have at all times 300 ideas that are bad.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
But the 20 that are good are what paralyze.
Even the 20 that are
Right.
good, like half of those are probably still bad. Just haven't
yeah,
figured it
yeah.
out yet.
I spend a lot of my day just like going like, this idea is trash, this idea is good, and then there's some that I like try to remember and hold on to, and I'm like, oh, I gotta do this one on a podcast. But like if I can't remember it by the time it clearly wasn't good enough. Like, but the Whirling Dervish podcast only occurs when an idea is like so like overwhelming
Like
that
you
it's
won't
like
be able to sleep if you don't get it
if I
out.
don't scream about this, I'm going to be mad for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like I will never have rest, and it's been really good. Like there are certain things you just got to get off your chest because like you'll think about it forever. You know, like
Yeah,
some
gotta
of
get that
the,
catharsis.
especially just the dumb Twitter drama bullshit, like all that kind of stuff. It's like you get so confused. You're just like, how can people be this way? Like how can the world be
every
this
day?
way?
I mean, I don't have Twitter anymore, thank God, but I do look at Reddit every day.
Oh no.
And every single day I look at Reddit and I just feel all the hate for humanity that is possible to feel, and
Yeah.
then some, every day. And I just think like, if I just like could start a dedicated channel to just like every day, this is the cesspool of humanity. Look through my eyes and see these fucking comments on Reddit all day, every day from these fucking simpletons. You would understand, like that would be like a fun thing at least. It would be fun. It would be like a way to blow off the steam.
Yeah.
You know, but it's fucking. I don't fucking feel like it.
It's fun. Like
Because then I'm spending. Because if I did that, I would be paying twice the amount of attention to
Right.
this shit that drives me crazy.
well, and then you have to deal with like the discussion that follows it as well. Which
Yeah,
can
the
then
bad comments
splinter it
about
and
the
make
bad
it,
comments.
right. Which is sometimes regrettable, and then but sometimes that just leads to me doing another video, and it's just like
I
having
hate-
a whole
I
conversation.
hate
with them.
Reddit so much. Like if you spend enough time on Reddit, there is like no greater window. Nothing more accurately just like shoves in your face the fact that like most people are exactly the fucking same. Like
Yeah.
everyone like you will see word for word.
You know that picture of the Reddit face?
Oh,
you know what I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about? Where it's like the 80 guys all doing the same like
yeah.
expression.
That soy face guy.
Yeah, soy face guy.
Oh man, I hope that man is happy in life. I don't
That's
want
not
him to.
one guy. It's a picture of a bunch of
Well,
different dudes all making
it
the
hasn't
same
start with one specific man, and
Oh,
like that
yeah.
guy was probably like living his life in agony, like in hell,
Yeah.
emotional turmoil. But just like you'll see on Reddit, entire paragraphs that are like word for word exactly the same on different threads on
Yeah.
different days, and it's just like either it's
That's
all
what scared
bots
me
or
off of
people
Reddit.
are bots,
face. Yeah. Well,
which is even worse.
There's not even a difference anymore. I only use Reddit for technical information, and that helps a lot.
I just use it for wrestling goss, and like even that small purpose is full of so
can't-
much poison.
Any
And
room for
madness.
opinion is bad. Like today,
Just
I was
see-
just on a Reddit for the laptop I had because I wanted to like install a new driver. There's just no room for bullshit on there. It's just like this is what you need. It's like thank God, no emotion, just information. Please don't engage with me as a human.
Yeah.
I feel like both of you guys both keep track of like what's happening on the internet a lot more than I do. Like, I have a tendency to only look at Twitter and YouTube because it's completely curated feeds. It's only people I've chosen to follow. And I still encounter like way more bullshit than I would like to. Even after like regularly unfollowing people who are annoying, like I still find myself angry enough
Well, I mean,
to be as angry as I want to be
I think I
you know,
definitely
in my life.
I give myself more information than I feel like talking about, because like
Yeah.
like all I do basically is read and write, and that's it.
Yeah.
So like like I think I know a lot. I know a lot more about politics than I'm like willing to admit. Like I try to downplay it
Same.
because I'm ashamed.
okay.
I'm ashamed
Anybody-
of knowing about politics. I'm
anybody
ashamed of
who-
knowing about anything.
The thing is, and
Because the more you know, the more annoying you become.
you know the adage, and it's completely true that like the more you know you don't know, and like anybody who speaks about politics, like they know exactly like what the policies mean and what they would do. It's like you really don't. You haven't thought about every angle of this because anybody who has knows that it's not that simple and wouldn't be willing to have this conversation.
Exactly.
And that's the problem is that like because we're not willing to have the conversation, there's nobody kind of explaining these problems to people, and I think we need more people who like just kind of are not taking a side one way or another, but just like presenting logical problems.
You can't even do
know?
that anymore.
Well,
because
it's
both
considered
sides
a
are just
side.
like, oh, you're a fucking bullshit centrist now. It's like, no, it's just like, I'm not jumping.
It's just like, look, I'm just like analyzing the data that's in front of me that you guys clearly aren't looking at.
Right.
You know, like
It's like maybe
I can't like
it's
this.
not a
The
binary
centrist
situation.
label drives me
it
fucking
insane,
completely
dude.
off the wall.
It's the
I've
worst.
gone off about it over and over
We
again.
have
on
one
podcasts.
of them in our midst.
Yeah.
There's no such fucking thing. As a centrist.
You thank God you reminded me. This is what I was thinking about last night, and I can talk about it here. Fuck. Rewriting the political compass to make sense by eliminating the word liberal and replacing it with experimental. And I think this would fix it, because the problem with it is that liberal and conservative in America are like specific like groups of ideologies that aren't really related to people don't go to be liberal or be conservative based on a holistic understanding of like what the core concepts of a conservative or liberal are. It's like just the group of ideologies that has been given that label in America, you know?
Right.
Whereas if you said conservative in a literal sense is exactly what Nate said last night, or the other night, when he said, I am not in favor of any change that is not like convincingly provable that it will make things better. I would be in favor of everything staying the same unless the changes are like can be like convincingly proven to make things better. And I was like, that's the definition of conservatism. So then I thought, what's the opposite of that literally? Experimentation. Just
Right.
being willing to try new things just for the sake of it, to see if it will make things better. And just being quick to kind of recover from losses. But like effective, to be effective in that station, you need to be able to like cut and run and change your opinions a lot and like analyze data as it comes, and you need to be able to like recognize when you're wrong quickly, and they don't do that.
Like,
that's not what the liberals
the
are doing.
mistake is in even thinking that like, okay, I think this is gonna sound like fifth dimensional like spherical thinking, but like.
It's my favorite kind.
Liberal and conservative, everyone's trained to think of them as opposites when they're kind of the same exact thing at the root.
Right.
Because like the very idea of a liberal mindset and a conservative mindset, they're destined to become one another and flip around.
Yes. Well, it's about the
everyone is like, what's liberal when I was a kid is now considered conservative. Well, yeah, it was always destined to be. Because fucking...
I gotta draw a diagram.
Oh no. The C is dead.
Like, liberal's destined to become the conservative view and vice versa, because, like, it's liberal 200 years ago to say, I want my gun. I want to have a fucking gun, no matter what. But then, and that is liberal, but once it's been the law for 250 years, then obviously, logically, the opposite becomes the liberal. Right. I mean, just
if you want to continue that.
Yeah, I mean, just in pure semantics terms, like, you know what I'm fucking saying? You better know what I'm fucking saying, people. And it better make sense. Or else I'll kick my own ass.
Something's happening.
Okay. So, this is let's
barely
call
showing
this.
up on film. We're gonna have to like zoom into this or something.
It's visible enough. You can.
Abortion.
All right. So like,
Let's call this abortion.
Let's call this political theory abortion.
Time to abort the country.
all right. So, this is what I'm going to call an individual political spectrum on the topic of abortion.
Okay.
Over here, you have. Well, actually, no, not here. You have here.
Oh no. It's getting.
And whatever. So,
Okay.
rather than it be that this is the conservative angle of abortion and this is the liberal, it's not like that. These are the extremes that can be possible of abortion, right? So like on this end is abortion is absolutely bad, and on this end is abortion is absolutely good. So, where the political spectrum is at a given moment depends on where the Overton window currently is. So back in the 1700s, it would have been considered extremely liberal to even suggest that abortion was ever okay in any circumstance whatsoever, and conservative to say that abortion is bad in all circumstances. However, currently, in our 2020, then, you know, the Overton window has moved. Actually, this should be up here and this should be down here for this example, but whatever. You know, now a conservative opinion is just to say, like, oh, well, like, you know, some abortion can be okay sometimes, whereas liberal is like, no, abortion should be absolutely every woman's right to do whatever they want. Sure. So this is the moving Overton window. So conservative will always just mean that you are on the conservative side of the current window, not of the full spectrum.
Sure.
If you are, you know, if your stance is, like, abortion is absolutely wrong, then you are, like, past the level of the discussion, you're considered a radical or extremist point of view. But, you know, anything within this, so, like, Bernie, I think that his policies for most Americans are, like, slightly outside the, like, liberal authoritarian, like, they're a little more liberal and authoritarian than most people in America want, and that's why they are afraid of him. Because he's a little outside the Overton window for most Americans. But this window is being moved by the young people, and eventually it will be over here when so many of these people have died off because their ideology is just gone.
Well, culture's always shifting.
So conservatives will then be the people who are here.
Right.
But
and then the people who are Bernie Bros now in 40 years will be the conservatives, and their grandchildren will be talking about some crazy shit.
But the thing is that this can move if you know, say that because again, I don't want this to be called liberal, this should be experimental. The people who want to experiment are trying to push things, you know, in this direction. The people who want things to stay the same might say, like, oh, we need to go back on an experiment. We need to move the Overton back because we fucked up. You know, like, anybody who's, like, anti-gay rights at this point, like, you would be outside the Overton window on the right trying to move things back to a point where they were in history, that it probably is not going to happen. Usually, if experiments succeed, we continue in the direction of the experiment until it's proven a failure, you know? So, this is a better way to think about political theory than the current compass. Oh, and this up here is authoritarian, down here is libertarian, so that's still the same. But, like, when you have libertarian here and liberal here with the way that they're defined in America, this space doesn't exist. If you're a hardcore libertarian liberal, you will always end up here, which is where I end up. Because to be a libertarian just means to think that people can do whatever they want, and there's no real difference between that and being a liberal, except for that this is more authoritarian than this. So this whole area doesn't really have any fucking meaning on the current political compass, whereas if this means experimental and this means libertarian, then it makes way more sense that these categories could exist. So this would put me here, because I'm extremely experimental and extremely libertarian, so this would be where I should be. But this spot doesn't exist on the current political compass. I've never seen it. Not once.
I can't wait for the torrent of comments of people dropping examples into that corner.
They won't. They won't. I've never seen it.
Hey, you know what this, I figured out what this is that we're filming.
Alright.
This is a new game show, right? Two of us just did a big fat bong rip. And one of us didn't, but let's not say who. And based on our opinions and the shit that we spew, the commenters will vote and try to figure it out. Who's who?
This is like I said earlier.
I mean, one of them's
the
like
two Tokes and the Bloke.
One of them's a free space, though. Like, if this is a bingo card,
That's
there's
true.
a clear
Alright,
free space.
that's good. Okay, that makes you like the host. You're like the wild card. You're the host.
Yeah.
And so you bring on two guys, and these.
The host, the Tokes
They have
and
to
the Bloke.
figure out which one
all these
smoked
freaks
and
at
which
home
one-
have to figure out which one is the fucking. Oh my god! Look at that.
Which one's the
Come on,
Toke,
that
which one's the Bloke?
whole idea just now. I'm proud of it.
Two Tokes and a Bloke.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing that I was going to
That's what
say.
obviously that has to be the video title.
I
Right?
think it's interesting, like,
Actually, didn't Tom come up with Two Tokes and a Bloke?
You came up with the name,
That's what I said.
and then I came up with
He
the
came up
rules
with the
based on the
premise.
name.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
good,
it's
good,
great.
good. Good collaboration.
But the point I wanted to make.
And I came up with the weed. Yeah! Sick tits, bro.
Spoilers, he's the free space. But yeah, I think one of the interesting things is that, going back to the idea of like experimental, I think so many people are hesitant to like sign off on experimentation because we have
Yeah.
a stigma against being wrong.
Yes, we do.
It's a huge fucking problem.
And this I can tie this all back into my whole otaku hero theory of the living computer and the mad scientist. That like the living computer is somebody who computers are inherently conservative. They cannot imagine. They cannot come up with new data.
Yeah.
They can't.
Kind of short. Usually it lasts longer.
Probably a few minutes. It's 30 minutes before it cuts the recording.
For 30 minutes already?
Why on earth does it do that?
Because, as Tom was explaining, for like import tax reasons, if a camera can record for more than 30 minutes, it's considered a camcorder. And so to avoid that designation, they will make it cut every 30 minutes
That's
obnoxiously.
the stupidest thing ever.
Now
It's
you know why
really-
you've been fucked by your cameras for the last fucking 20 years.
Oh my god.
That's
There's
literally
an extra
why.
like import tax or whatever for a
It's
camcorder.
literally just so that they can save a little bit of money.
Huh.
Time to murder. Anyways, the reason I brought up the being wrong thing is because one of the most interesting like lines I heard back when I was a wee lad beginning college, just watching Zeitgeist 2, a documentary about like.
The 9/11 attacks.
Well, this one was not about that. This is about like how money is fucked up and like the Venus Project.
I
and
remember
how, like,
when that came out.
resource-based economy. One of the interesting lines was that like like being wrong should be celebrated because it strengthens awareness.
Right.
And I think that's something really important that's missing from culture.
That's why we study people who have failed, you know,
Right.
like, and it's interesting. I think that
because like being afraid of failure means holding on to
Yeah.
weak ideas.
well, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people who do study failure are people who are more cautious, who would not want to fail themselves. Like Nate or somebody like YMS, who always talks about how he used to go on watch people die just because he wanted to like learn what to avoid. And he considered it like a valuable learning resource. And like, I mean, obviously in the case of dying, yes, I want to know before I make that
Sure.
mistake. I think that's perfectly reasonable. But you know, I do think there are some people who are like so risk avoidant that, you know, like everything meaningful that I have achieved came out of taking some kind of large risk, you know?
Well, I think the problem is that like okay, when it comes to dying, obviously there's a difference. Which like
Yeah.
you don't want to just like I'm going to jump off this building and see if I survive and only break my
Yeah.
legs. Like that's retarded.
Yeah.
But like in terms of just like exploring ideas
Mm-hmm.
and putting things out there and trying to do things. Like we have a culture where like failure is mocked and being wrong is mocked.
Epic fail.
Exactly, because like we get some sort of weird sadistic pleasure out of that,
Yeah.
and the problem is that like that makes people afraid to either try new things, which is bad, or hold on to ideas that are wrong even when they've been otherwise proven because that makes them feel worse about themselves.
It's
And
hard to realize.
If we had a
you're
culture
wrong.
where it's just like we're all trying to like push each other towards like our highest maxim we can achieve,
Yeah.
these ideas would be tested and changed constantly, and like being wrong should be celebrated because like if I tell you, you're wrong about this, you are now a better person, you are now more informed, you have better understanding of the
Frankly,
world around you.
I think it goes even deeper than that because like I knew someone who like was very conservative because they had been raised conservative, but like the actual beliefs they had seemed pretty liberal, but it was almost like they didn't want to lose their identity as a conservative. Like the idea that, oh, like, you know, my family is this way, like I come from this background, like this is, you know, particularly this person was like their childhood seemed to be a better time for them than their present. And so like clinging on to those aspects of identity was like clinging on to the part of life that was good, you know, and like not wanting to have to graduate into a new person and try to like find a new identity to survive, but just clinging on to this old one because it's all you've got, you know, even though it didn't seem like she believed any of these things really at all, you know.
They were just a comfort. It's an
Right.
emotional crutch.
And I also see this from a lot of like boomers and stuff who like a lot of boomer conservatives in particular, like one of my grandmas, like I don't think she really like has given any thought to any opinions that she has. It's that she has like selected an identity that is comforting to her.
Well, your mind
and
becomes less elastic the older you get. It becomes set
But
in its ways.
it's the weird thing about it is that she was more liberal when she
weird.
was younger.
Because
It-
your fucking boobies getting more elastic.
The elasticity moves downwards.
You might be old if your boobies have started to sag a little.
Did you just get up and like
What?
do something?
Yeah, the coffee
Oh,
was
you
spilled
were
and I had to get a
cleaning
rag.
that coffee. I was noticing that too, and I was like,
I don't even know how that happened.
yeah, I was wondering who's even coffee. Is
How
I
long
it?
has
didn't
it
know
been
one even
there?
touched it.
Probably
It was
Victor's,
just-
right?
Piece of shit.
He would drink that coffee. But yeah, no, like the odd thing about my grandma is that when she was, from what my mom has said, when she was younger, she was more liberal. But like as she got older, like
We're all gonna do that.
it's not even that it's not that she became conservative because her beliefs are now conservative. It's that she started adopting conservative beliefs she did not have before in order to like create a persona that she could like disappear into of like being a patriotic American. And
There's
like,
probably like some sense of like social conformity in there as well.
definitely, it was because I'm thinking of this like I mostly grew up with her during like the Bush era, and like that was the era when she became like flag waving, like yeah, we'll go to war, we're America, and it's kind of like
Everybody had that for a little while.
cringe.
Dude, I saw
Not
the
in my
most,
family.
I saw the most like galaxy-brained, black-pilled like documentary ever
Sick.
the
I
other
wanna
day.
see
It was
it.
called Hypernormalization.
Oh shit!
It sounds amazing.
It's free. It's on YouTube. It's about like everything. Like it's about all the core reasons why we're fucked. Like nothing can recover from
can I
this.
just make a statement that we are the three most black-pilled members of the PCP by far?
Oh yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah.
That sounds about right.
I think
yeah.
we're the only ones who would like watch those documentaries and be like, "This is literally how things are." Like,
Yeah.
do you guys like?
Like,
I feel like Nate would be like, "Haha, that might be how things are." And
I mean,
I'm like,
like,
"No, buddy boy, that is how things are."
I don't even know how to say what it's about because like it's about everything, but like it starts out being with like explaining the collapse of the Soviet Union and how at the time everyone in Russia living there knew it was collapsing, but like couldn't say anything and had to keep up this facade of like everything's fine, we're a great country and all that.
Like the picture of the dog in the house that's burning down.
Yeah,
that says,
and, like-
this is fine.
Yeah, exactly. And like because of that denial of reality becomes the norm and it becomes normalized, and then from there it draws the parallels to like America of right now, and it's fucking dope,
I
dude.
can visualize the whole thing in my head.
Yeah.
It's kind of on a similar vein. I read a book, or I read an audio, or listened to an audiobook called "Everything Is Fucked," a book about hope,
Oh, I've
That's-
seen that.
and
I've
it
seen
was
it.
fucking
Yeah.
sick.
It's a good title.
The concept of the book is that.
It's better than mine, which has fixed that for you.
Well, see, the interesting thing about this book is that it sounds like it's a hopeful book,
Yeah.
but the whole thing is demonizing the concept of hope. That hope is bad and it's ruining the world.
That's
Because
fair.
it's just like they say, like hope. The reason everybody has hope is because we're all afraid to die.
Fuck hope and fuck having faith in you animals. 24 years I've been treated like a radical.
Oh fuck! I wrote that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what is that?
Pretty good.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah. So the book is talking about how hope is like this like crutch that everybody holds on to, and it's actually like breaking society. And he like kind of goes to like all these different like philosophers and stuff, and just like how people have dealt with the problem of hope, and like going into like, well, people use like God and hope as a crutch, and then it's like, well, then these people are trying to be like, okay, we need to take God out of the equation. How do people survive and do things without hope? Because the only reason we do things is we're hoping for a better future. And it's just really fucking cool. It's a good book. Read it. Audible.com. Audibletrial.com/Tommy Oliver. Get your first Audible book for free, and I get $5.
Dude, Audible's awesome. You know what I was listening to? This is not an ad. I don't know why I said it like that. It really sounded like an ad.
Tell me more about Amazon's Audible.com,
I was
Jesse.
being sincere, but it sounded like the most insincere thing anyone's ever said.
That's the problem. You can't even be hype about a commercial product anymore. No one will trust you.
I was listening to Norm Macdonald's audiobook, and it's amazing. And it is narrated by Norm Macdonald.
It would have
Thank
to
God.
be.
Yeah, it
There's
has to
no
be.
other
Yeah.
way. Inimitable.
But like, it's half narrated by Norm Macdonald and half narrated by another guy, and it's like it's like the most weirdly brilliant satire ever, because like it's not exactly a memoir. It's a novel about the man ghostwriting Norm Macdonald's memoir
Okay.
So, like, it has Norm Macdonald stories, and they are, I think, real stories if, you know, some of them are pretty exaggerated for, like, ridiculous effect, and to make himself look more like an asshole. So it has all the stories from Norm's perspective, narrated by Norm, but, like, every now and then, there's a chapter that, like, breaks the fourth wall from the perspective of the ghostwriter, like, slowly losing himself, because he was supposed to be a great writer, but unfortunately his name is Charles Manson. So his great American novel was like, no one could, you know, it was taken off shelves and everything, and so his whole life was like a bitter failure, and now he has to ghostwrite memoirs for these like asshole celebrity idiots like Norm and all of Norm Macdonald's stories are just like him being the biggest dipshit hick douchebag in history, and like over the course of the book, like the ghostwriter chapters like spiral further and further into like depravity and madness to where like
he's House of Leaves of fucking
to where like by the end of it the ghostwriter is like he's like trying to kill himself and commit suicide, and Norm Macdonald's busting in like, hey, what are you doing, trying to jack off with autoerotic asphyxiation? You gotta finish my book. And he's like, oh my god. And he's like, eventually he starts like, I still can't get into the mind of Norm. I can't get into the skin of Norm Macdonald. So he starts dressing up like Norm Macdonald. and so then there's this fucking, I guess spoilers, I guess. I mean, there's this whole subplot about Norm getting in trouble with gambling debts and a man with the artificial hair coming to kill him. And so eventually the ghostwriter gets shot from dressing up like Norm Macdonald. And I was listening to it, and I was happy for like 8 hours. It was fucking the funniest shit ever. It was dope.
Sounds fucking sick.
I've been reading one of the Hunter S. Thompson books that is just a collection of, it's called Generation of Swine. It's about the late 80s. And I guess he probably was just writing like a newspaper column or something, because each one is dated just every week. He wrote like a 2-page little thing about like whatever happened to him / is going on in the news at that time. And they're all hilarious, ingenious, and perfectly poignant. And it's kind of surreal because a lot of the shit that mattered in the 80s is still going on. For instance, Biden was running for president at the time in one of the ones I just read.
Wait, what was that? Was that Hunter Thompson?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
And so like, but his writing style is just so fucking good. But his theory of life essentially is fear and loathing. That you live your life with as much fear and loathing as possible, and it's the only thing that will protect you, because everybody's out to get you. Everybody's gonna fuck you. There's way deeper forces than you realize at work.
He's a really cool dude.
And if you fucking don't look out for yourself, you are going.
I've always loved books that are that format of just collections of essays or like you would anecdotes.
Love these,
like the George Carlin books were like that. They were all great.
You and I both, our styles are both
and that is literally what I do. I mean, like right now I could go compile 10 books of like shit that I've written.
You should,
but I know I should do that.
It's one of those. It's one of those 20 great ideas that are conflicting with each other for my time.
Getting into writing books has been the most liberating feeling. It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like
I can do it. I can actually do this. I can write a book.
Been thinking of, it's been becoming my dream slowly, like my actual dream. Like I've been like, as time goes on, I've been realizing more and more it was probably what I was meant to be doing from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And like,
that's kind of how I feel right now too.
And like, because like, especially with videos, like I hate every single part of what I do except the writing, which is great and easy and comes so naturally that I do it without even thinking.
For me, the voice work is easy as well, and that's why like I've gotten really into podcasting and stuff, because I do like talking unscripted.
Right. I like the radio, and I love the process of like using my voice like an instrument and like finding the right intonation for stuff. Yeah. That's cool. Everything else is
record your own audiobooks when you get the books out.
That's what I'm fucking. And it's gotten so. It's like I've been thinking about it so much. It's become this like obsession where like I find myself during the day thinking in narration of my eventual recollection of that day.
That's how I've lived a lot of my life, actually.
Yeah.
Because ever since I was a kid, I thought I would be famous and have to write an autobiography. So I've been thinking about my autobiography since I was like 8. And then I got sick of doing that when I was like in my 20s because
you don't have
I talked
to be,
about myself too much.
You don't
and I got
have to be
sick of it.
famous to write.
Yeah, well, I figured that out.
Thing. Yeah.
It turns out you only have to be Brony famous.
In fact, most of the really great memoirs were written by guys who weren't famous when they wrote them, because they were just authors and writers.
If I had ever read a memoir, I probably would have known that. But I didn't read that much as a kid.
I love memoirs. I'm like I love more than anything. Like not more than anything. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love eating and breathing air. But I just love hearing like a person's story in their own words, and especially in their own voice, which is why I love the audiobooks. On Audible. Ring the bell, or I can't even spoof this because I don't even know what they say. Ring the bell. Subscribe to my Audible NordVPN, please. Yeah, but like I had this epiphany the other day, where like I just realized every public figure nowadays is just here to be ridiculed and destroyed by the ignorant, idiotic, evil, malicious masses. Every singer is just hated. Everyone is just fucking, celebrities and artists and any public figure, everyone just hates them. The only public figures who are still allowed to be cool are authors.
Because they don't put their...
Because the nature of their work is seclusion.
Right.
So there is just a natural aura to them of mystery. And, they all... Like I said the other day about Stephen King, like, doing cocaine in his mansion and writing 6 novels a day, and now that's like hanging around in like a nice sweater all the time.
I mean, that's it's my dream as well. All of the...
They're like, authors are like the last rock stars.
I mean, I've always really liked the kind of mystique of the author, or just like anybody, like the way old media was done, right?
Yeah.
You go away for X amount of years, then you drop a product, everybody collectively nuts, and then you go back into your cave.
Yeah.
Like,
awesome.
That is
Perfect.
just gone, and
Yeah.
it sucks.
It does.
Because that's...
I don't think it's gone. I mean,
it's not gone, but for people of
think
our caliber,
it's not gone.
There's
you know
a new
where it is?
expectation.
Do you know where it is? It's entirely, that culture is only alive in indie devs, where Toby Fox can legit just like fuck off for 3 years.
It's not that it's gone, it's that it's so easy to like accidentally step on the wrong path and end up in like the opposite, which is, it's like the way to do that has been so like narrowed down that you can't even find it, and you end up in some place you didn't want.
There's just an expectation now, because everything is so easy and everything's constantly being recorded and shared, that like, our audience expects daily tweets and weekly videos and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know if it's so much that they expect it as that if you don't give them that, then they just
forget
will
about
forget about it.
It's overstimulation.
Right, and it happens, okay, like the thing about the writing a book and bombing out, like as great as that methodology is, the only reason it ever worked is that enough people will buy that book for them to go away. And
we just don't really have the scale to do
right,
it.
and well, it's that simultaneously, like when you think about historically, like there were fewer people who even could read or write. There were fewer people who were trying to be novelists. It was less of an encouraged career. There were fewer people on planet Earth. There were fewer avenues through which to publish things. A lot of things were published locally. It wasn't seen as like you have to get famous for everything you publish. You could literally just write something for your fucking neighborhood, But like, at some point it became, okay, publications are all about being like nationwide, and it's all about like, I have to have a book come out that can sell 2 million copies so that I can go back into my hole. But like, there's always been writers who also write for magazines and they publish monthly, and they have to have something out all the time because they're working for low rates with low turnover, but they can pump stuff out all the time, and they don't have masterpieces in them that will keep people chewing on it for 3 years. And like, for me as a writer, when I wrote Kusamega, like I wrote it in a day. I don't expect it to be something that is going to have that kind of impact, because it just isn't, it doesn't have enough in it, I put it out knowing that Volume 2 had to come out within 3 months or nobody would give a shit. Like, people will have forgotten about it. It was only an hour long. It doesn't even stay in your mind that hard. Like, if it wasn't for the big twist ending, people wouldn't have remembered it in the first place, So like, when it came to volume 2, it was like, I gotta get this out within like this time frame. And now I'm like thinking about the time frame for volume 3, and I want the whole story to be done in 1 year. And then like with that, it's like, yes, I carried you. I brought you along with me. But I only had to publish every 3 months, not every day, not every week, not every month even.
Didn't
I
have
had
to see
a
what you
little bit of
fucking maggots
fucking
have to
time.
say every day at me.
Right. So, you know, and obviously that's not my career, but like...
Didn't have to pump out content to keep you fucking pigs fed.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, it's like so easy.
I mean,
to, like,
I did have to do that.
Well, I mean, in a perfect world.
Yeah.
It's easy to blame like the people, but it's not the people. It's the systems in which we're using to
Right.
facilitate all of this.
And that's, I mean, it's that the systems, I came to realize when Ben was doing that lecture last night, where he said that they sold that domain for $100,000 and it was just an aggregate site. And that's, aggregate sites have always been the biggest sites on the internet because people don't know how to find shit. They need it brought to them. And social media is just when we combined aggregation with like instant communication. It's just like chat room fused with aggregate website, except you actually can upload stuff to YouTube as opposed to it being collected by somebody. So like, but YouTube itself uses the algorithm to collect the best and present to you the best, as it were, but like the most marketable, we'll say. And so like now that aggregate sites are the websites, like it's not pulling together a bunch of unique art from around the internet, it's just YouTube. And so everybody just makes YouTube videos. You just don't make something that's not a YouTube video unless you can promote it through a YouTube video. And like, thankfully some people are doing decent jobs of this. Like Don Jolly mostly is making a website, but he will, like, when he makes a big update, read part of the update in a YouTube video and then be like, you can read the rest on the site.
YouTube takes root in your mind so insidiously.
It really does.
It's like,
it's terrifying.
when you get sucked into the YouTube, and like when you get sucked into like being a YouTuber and like suddenly you're making YouTube videos for your job or whatever, it's so easy to forget that there are other ways to make money. If you just think outside the box even a little, you can do something creative without YouTube entirely a part of it.
Right.
And like my friend Johnny Oldschool, who used to be a YouTuber, one of my best friends. He hasn't been he like deleted everything having to do with Johnny Oldschool. He just became like a painter. Changed his whole.
Just Johnny now.
He's not even Johnny. He changed his entire name. He started fresh, which is like he did. Fucking my dream. He's living the fucking, but like, also just randomly he created like a Dungeons and Dragons meme page on Facebook one day for no reason, and it just grew like on its own from people posting little stupid memes and shit, and like it's really big now, and he's selling ads on it, and like all it took was just thinking outside the YouTube box for just the briefest of seconds. Just, the slightest effort in any other creative direction.
I will say though that as
YouTube's a fucking tar pit. It's a trap.
I mean, YouTube does have some benefits in doing that other stuff though, because I will say of Kus Omega at the very least, that thing, I can't imagine anywhere else it could have been published and been successful. And just purely the fact that I've done stuff with my voice for so long is why I was able to do like a great reading. You know, like there's no way for me to market a text post I wrote. Nobody will read. Nobody in my audience, at least, will read.
Right.
And I don't know where to find the people who will. That's really the problem. Like, I'm sure that if I was able to find that, and I knew, like in the case of Johnny Oldschool, he had no way of predicting that was going to happen, you know? And it's like, I would love for something like that to happen, but I'm like, I don't even know where to start posting
and that's
to
just,
make that happen.
That's just like a side hustle too. Like
Right.
the main thing that he started doing is he went to art college and started painting.
Yeah.
And like within 1 or 2 years, he became a phenomenal fucking painter. And he like sells paintings for like thousands of dollars now.
Wow.
He's like a legit dude.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and like all it took was being like, I don't want to fucking review Geely anymore. Like, is that really what I'm gonna do with my life?
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, that's kind of why I've slowed down on YouTube. It's like, I've said this multiple times in like my podcast and on the PCB, but like I don't want to talk about popular culture. I want to make something that is part of popular culture.
Here's the thing, and I think this applies to
Or
all
a
three
niche
of us
part of it.
in almost equal measure. All three of us hate having a job talking about popular culture. We love talking about popular culture.
Yeah.
Like, we can't stop ourselves. We do it just as a matter of course.
Sure.
And that's why I chose to make it my job, because when I was back when I was trying to become like a writer and a filmmaker in my late teens, I realized that like I had to force myself to like get motivated to do those things, but I would write anime blog posts all the time just because like I watch anime, I have thoughts, I write them down. It's like a passive experience for me. So if I could make money doing that, then it was just like I will never not make money doing this because I will always have shit to say about media. But like that's also because I'm not trying to make it perfect. You know, I'm not trying to make like great videos. It's just like, hey, I have an idea, let's make that a video, you know? Sometimes I make something great, but most of the time it's like, oh shit, I had an idea, good, I can make money. You know, like let's make that idea.
It's been interesting watching Kuso Mega and its progress and stuff, simply because like it's successful and it's doing well. It's found an audience.
It has not made any money.
It has not made any money, but I think it will when the Kickstarter rolls around.
I think it will.
I think you'll probably do pretty well. But the reason like it's found its legs as quickly as it has is because you have this entire YouTube channel that's like primed a bunch of people for it.
And it helps.
It's not like if you were like for the last 5 years working on Kuso Mega and making it probably even better than it is now because you'd spent all that time. It probably would have just fell flat on its ass because you can't just launch something like that.
And I mean, in fairness to it though as well, like it's built out of the ideas that were presented on the channel. Like, it's a parody of the kind of shit I talk about. So like, I think that if I wrote any other light novel that wasn't like, so, you know, the last one I had written before Kuso Mega, I wrote this light novel in like a day it sucks and I hate it. It was just purely like word vomit. That was even more successful by like threefold. It had like 3 times the views that Kuso Mega has so far. But like, that one is just vomit, you know? It had no effort put into it whatsoever, no thought. But because it's a parody of the things I already talk about, my audience just was poised to understand it, you know? And Kuso Mega goes like a lot more in depth on a lot of the concepts that I talk about in my analysis videos. So like, if you do watch my videos, you perfectly understand where I'm coming from with this book. Whereas a lot of my writing, if I were to publish it, I just am afraid people would be like, what the fuck is this even? You know, like, I don't get it. I've never read anything like this and I don't like it, you know? Like, Kuso Mega is designed from the ground up to be at least fake generic. Like, it's pretending to be a generic light novel. Well, nothing about it actually reads like most... I mean, it reads like old light novels back when they were cool, because that's what my influences are. But, like, it doesn't read like the generic things it's making fun of. But, like...
The concepts are there.
But not just the concepts. All the things that make those generic stuff appealing is there. The girls are legitimately hot. They have real personalities. You actually like them and want them to be your waifu. You know, like, you want to see these characters fuck. You want to see them go on adventures. You want to see them kill stuff. So, like, you know, I have all the appeal of a generic fantasy story. It just isn't one. And that's why it's able to be successful. But, like, do I think, like, my next idea for a novel I have is one called God the Devil. And it's a way more, like, it's based on a documentary I watched about Iraq and, like, this crisis where, like, the Iraqi army was, like, taking people and, like, trading them. And it was, like, one sect of the Iraqi army who's supposed to be the good guys, like, fighting the Taliban. And, like, but they're, like, doing these, like, illegal things, so they have, like, these other people going in after them. It was just crazy, like, military conflict that was super specific and interesting. What?
Battery's about to die.
Oh,
well,
shit.
Just so you know.
Yeah, anyway, my point is, it will be a lot weirder, and I don't know if, you know, I don't know if I can expect it to get 50,000 views.
Your channel's at the top of the funnel, then Kuso Mega, then, like, the real shit. And that's just how the
tunneling.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I guess we have to end this because the battery's gonna die.
Exactly.
Bang, 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 bang. You thought I'd forget?